Okay, so I've owned the iPad mini 6 now for about 7 months, and my conclusion is that this device is definitely not for everybody. It has a lot of pros and a lot of cons, and unless you are the person I describe in this video, you should actually avoid this iPad at all cost. So I want to first talk about what makes the mini so freaking good. If you're the type of person that's looking to consume a lot of content on a tablet type of device, there's actually no better contender than the iPad mini 6. Watching Netflix and YouTube videos on the go on this device is fantastic. It's not too heavy where it hurts your hands, and it's big enough to give you a much better viewing experience than what you could achieve on your smartphone. I actually prefer using my iPad mini over the iPad Air when it comes to watching videos, simply due to the size difference alone. It's lighter and easier to hold in my hand over longer periods of time. As for web browsing or consuming Apple News, for example, this tablet cannot be beaten. There is something special about having a much larger screen to consume all of this information over your smartphone. It's more comfortable and you just get more immersed into the things that you are reading. And speaking of reading, the iPad mini can double as a great e-reader on the go if that's your thing. And where this tablet continues to really shine is if you are planning to do a lot of gaming on this device. The iPad mini is the perfect tablet to play mobile games over extended periods of time without experiencing any fatigue due to its smaller form factor. I never used my iPad Air to play games because I felt it was just a bit too big for my taste. But ever since I got the iPad mini, I've gamed much more on my iPad than I ever did before. The next thing that I love about the iPad mini is the addition of 5G. Having cellular connectivity on the go has been a game changer in terms of how I use this iPad. No longer do I have to rely on slower public Wi-Fi or having to use my smartphone as a hotspot and drain the battery of my iPhone. I can very quickly whip out the iPad and be diving right into whatever I want to do because it's constantly connected to the internet. It's one of those quality of life things that's really hard to explain over camera. You kind of just have to have it and give it a shot. I can't imagine using the iPad mini without 5G. If I didn't have it, this iPad would feel less portable and more restrictive. I love the freedom that 5G gives me to use this iPad truly wherever I want, anywhere, wherever I am. That was a long anyway. Another win for the iPad mini is its cameras. The most useful camera is the new ultra wide angle lens on the front of the iPad. It supports center stage, so when you are in video calls, the iPad will follow you every step of the way and keep you center in frame. It also does have a rear facing 12 megapixel camera, which does a decent job, as you can see from the photos on the screen. Okay, so now I want to focus on where the iPad mini falls short. And the first thing where I've sort of changed my opinion over the last 7 months is my stance on this tablet's ability to be a good note-taking device. Sadly, I've changed my mind. I would avoid this iPad at all cost if your goal is to take notes. I just think it's a bit too small for the task. I've always opted to use the iPad Air to take notes instead, just because the bigger screen really does make a difference in your note-taking experience. The iPad mini just feels cramped and too small, and if you find the iPad Air to be too expensive, the cheaper entry-level iPad, which is cheaper than the mini, has a bigger screen and arguably a better iPad for note-taking. So if note-taking is on the bill of things to do, I would think twice before buying this iPad. And just another thing that came to mind as I'm speaking to this camera is that the same also applies to drawing. If drawing is on your things to do with an iPad, I also would think twice before buying the iPad mini. I think there's just better ones for that specific task right now from Apple. Okay, so the next area where the iPad mini falls short is if you're looking to be a creator. So if you're looking to do photo editing, video editing, coding, or even music production, I think you're better off saving your money and just getting a MacBook for those jobs instead. The MacBook is more capable and has more flexibility for the apps you can use to create the things you want. I just don't think the iPad mini is a contender to replace your computer anytime soon. And to further that point on being a computer replacement, the iPad mini does lack any type of official keyboard support from Apple. I think the screen is too small to want to do any type of typing on the iPad mini anyways, but you can pair Bluetooth options if you absolutely want to, but in my opinion, it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're looking to type out documents and you need a keyboard, there are far superior options out there than the iPad mini. Another gripe that I have with this device has to do with its storage options. Currently, right now, Apple ships the iPad mini starting at 64 gigabytes of storage, which is okay if you're the kind of person that is streaming a lot of content. But the second you want to load a lot of apps and games and movies and music onto this device, and you plan to own this thing for at least 3 to 4 years, that's when the 64 gigs seems like it's not enough at all. And your only other option is to pay an extra $150, at least here in Canada, to get the 256 gigabyte option, which would be more than enough headroom to give you all the space you need for this device for the lifetime that you own it. The only thing I don't like about that is it does feel a little anti-consumer in a way. I really think Apple should have shipped this with 128 gigabytes of storage. That's just the sweet spot for most people. No, a lot of people wouldn't need more than that. Shipping these at 64 gigs, it almost forces the consumer to go to 256. So that's something I just don't really like about this iPad. Another thing that I don't like about this iPad has to do with Touch ID. I don't like it not because it's not reliable. It's actually quite reliable. It works very well. You have a biometric way to secure your iPad device. I think that's a good thing. But the thing that I don't like about it is the fact that it doesn't have Face ID. I've never agreed with Apple on this. I don't understand why non-Pro iPads can't have Face ID, especially for the fact that there's non-Pro iPhones that have Face ID. And we've all been accustomed to Face ID for so many years that it feels a little weird to always switch to the non-Pro iPads and having to use these, feels like last generation ways to get into the device. I'm just not a fan. I really wish Apple in the future changes their mind about Face ID being a Pro feature for iPad. Okay, so my definitive conclusion on the iPad mini is this. It's the best tablet you can buy today if you are solely interested in basic tablet things like consuming content in media, in Safari, Apple News, you name it. If you have any itch to do more than basic tablet things like take notes or draw on the iPad, I think there are better options out there, either in the cheaper entry-level iPad or the more expensive iPad Air. If you have an itch to be a creator, so I'm talking like photo editing, video editing, coding, music production, you name it, I would not even think about getting an iPad mini, and I would think twice about just getting iPads in general. You should focus your money on buying a MacBook. That tool is way better for those kinds of jobs, in my opinion. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure to drop a like if you made it to the end, comment hashtag iPad mini, and subscribe if you're brand new to my channel. But I'll catch all of you guys in the next video. Peace.